With cinema. Hi, this is Greg from War with Cinema. We're starting a new segment called Couch Potatoes. My wife, my beautiful wife, suggested it.
Nice.
Say hello.
Nice save, babe.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kindra. I'm Greg's wife. We've been married for 2 years now, roughly? Something like that.
Yeah, but we've been together forever.
Don't tell people that.
10 years.
10 years? You're drunk. I was 18 10 years ago. There's no way.
Legal.
Ew. Mom, Dad, I wasn't dating Greg when I was 18.
So you're the one that came up with this idea. So what is Couch Potatoes?
So I enjoy watching movies with you and Nick, but you guys put on some serious crap fests. So in our time that we spend together, I enjoy watching TV shows with you. We have very similar tastes. And so we watch a lot of TV shows. Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Stars.
Yeah, anything that's popular we pretty much dive into just to watch.
Exactly. And I kind of want to jump in on this. I think it's fun what you guys are doing. So kind of running this as a tester and see if we like it and if people like listening to us talk.
Yeah, people have actually been asking us, are you guys going to do TV shows? But me and Nick, it's hard enough to do the movie thing.
Yeah.
Because we have to watch them and he has kids and everything. But me and you, it's kind of just quality time. We just put on TV shows.
Exactly.
So it's a nice little segment we're going to be starting. So what are we going to be starting out with?
Okay. So listen, I have spent the last, 3, maybe 4 years of my life watching this TV show, and we finally finished it this past weekend. It's something that you watched before you and I even got together, so it's a relatively older show. But it's always one of those things that I've put on the back burner and I've never really delved into because I knew it was going to be an investment.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lost.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I feel lost even after watching it and completely understanding everything. I was actually telling my boss today that I rarely ever finish a TV show and feel not that necessarily a part of me is missing, but you know how you get satisfaction from checking something off a list?
Yeah.
I got no satisfaction from finishing Lost.
Really?
There wasn't any of that for me. I feel like I don't have that bug on my shoulder anymore saying hey, don't forget you have to finish Lost because I started it 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we just finished the last 2 seasons this past 2 weeks.
Well, you watched the first half of it 3 or 4 years ago, and then you're I want to finish Lost, so that you just finished the last 3 or 4 episodes.
Well, I watched recaps, which were super helpful, and I was thinking we could put the recaps that I watched in the the description on the video so that people can see if they haven't watched it before. You don't necessarily need to waste 120 hours of your life. You can just watch the recaps and understand just as much as the people that did watch 120 hours worth. So I watched the recaps because I couldn't remember where I left off at. I knew kind of the roundabout, what the storyline was, but everything was kind of meshing together. So I watched the recap for 1 and I'm yep, definitely finished 1, 2, 3. 4 is where it started getting hazy. So I watched the last few episodes of season 4. Realized that I had already watched season 4 and just started fresh at season 5. So I started season 5 maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then you and I finished almost all of season 6 on Saturday.
Yeah, we pretty much binged the last season in one day.
Yeah.
For the most part.
We were no pee breaks. No, we're not pausing it. If you need to use the bathroom, that's tough noodles. Get up. You're going to miss whatever's happening.
Can't be healthy.
Yeah, no. So I wanted to spout off a couple facts just for people that were kind of interested in Lost. I want to say, too, that almost everyone I've talked to so far, they're ugh, Lost.
Yep.
They're I got 1, 2, 3 seasons into that, and then I just gave up because it got ridiculous. I've talked to 5 or 6 people about this show, and they all say that they got 3 or 4 seasons in, and then they stopped. Well, let me tell you, we finished it, and honestly, I think it wrapped up kind of nice. I know some people hated the ending.
No, I hated the ending.
Why?
Because it
Okay.
think about Harry Potter. And you know that thing that
Don't
goes around the...
compare Harry Potter to Lost.
I'm saying...
Do you say you want a divorce? Because that's what sounds like is happening right now.
I'm saying, if you know the thing that goes around, that's going around the internet, Harry woke up and it was all a dream.
Right.
I feel that was kind of like what Lost did. It was like, oh, everybody was in purgatory. It's like, it's such a cop-out ending. Like, fuck you, man.
I mean, how else could they have ended it, though?
I don't know, but...
I think about, like, Harry Potter. Most people know the end of Harry Potter, whether or not you've read the books or watched the movies, the ending is relatively the same. The end of Harry Potter is he defeats Voldemort, and then he lives his life, and in the end, all was well. Like, that's the last statement in the last book. How else could that have ended? How else would it... It wouldn't have been
They
satisfying.
could have gotten off the island. Like... They could have.
Could they, though? You and I talk about that all the time. Like, what were we watching the other day? And what's that show that we just started watching where, like, the guy was growing mushrooms on...
Oh, Hannibal.
Yes. So we were talking about it. We're like, man, you can't come back from that. Like, you went through all of that and you're going to go back to living your life how you were living it before. Like, you're going to be messed up. There's no way.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these people. Like, I mean, let's talk about that smoke monster. Can you imagine seeing that thing in real life? No, obviously, because what is it, like a dragon? And then go back to like iPhones and hybrid cars and stuff. Like, there's no way.
True.
Like, there's no way. You can't go back to a regular life after that.
Yeah, but I would have liked to see them. I don't know. I understand the ending. Like, they were in purgatory. They all had their shortcomings that they had to overcome to move on to the other side, which whatever that was, it doesn't really say. But I would have rather them, I don't know, like, get off the island.
I don't, not that any part of this show is realistic, but I don't think getting off the island would have been realistic for them. And I think that sometime in season 4 they get off the island, right? 6 of them do. It's Hurley, Jack, Kate, Son, the baby, and Saeed, right? They all get off the island. They go back to living relatively normal lives. They get huge payouts from the airline because they crashed the plane and whatever. And none of them lived normal lives.
Yeah.
Like, Hurley ended up in a mental institution. Saeed went right back to being crazy and, like, killing everybody. Jack ended up getting doped up on, I think, opioids.
Well, to be fair,
painkillers.
I watched the last, like, season with you, so I don't remember a whole lot from the earlier ones. It's still kind of hazy.
I can tell you exactly what happened because
I
I just went through the whole dang thing. So my whole point is that, like, they tried that. They went back to a normal life, and it didn't work for them. None of them were happy. Kate was constantly looking over her shoulder because she thought people were going to take the baby from her, who it wasn't her baby. And I hate that storyline so unbelievably much. I think it's so stupid. And, like, it was just dumb. Anyway, I wanted to talk about some things about Lost first. Like, do you know how much money it cost to make the first pilot episode?
No, I don't.
So a normal pilot, in like for that kind of TV show type, like a drama primetime series, was about $4 million. It took 11. Hang on, let me make sure that I get the right number. Cost between $10 to $14 million.
Wow, that's a movie.
Just the pilot.
That's crazy.
Not the rest, because they made 120 more episodes. Just the pilot was $10 to $14 million.
Wow.
I do remember because this show aired starting when? A long time ago, right?
Yeah.
2004 or something.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago.
Aired on ABC from September 2004 to May 2010. So in 2004, I was 13. I wasn't interested in watching Lost, and that's why I started it when I was like, 22, 23?
Did I ever tell you why I didn't get into Lost at first?
No, I don't think so.
Because Survivor was on the exact same time this show was, and I knew I didn't want to watch Survivor, and somebody told me about Lost. Like, it's some people stranded on an island. I'm like, I don't want to watch Survivor, so I don't want to watch that either. So I thought Lost was like a reality TV show.
I mean, the ridiculous things that happen, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Like, it's a soap opera in and of itself.
Yeah, so it wasn't until it ended that I realized it wasn't the same thing.
It's like a drama prime time.
And I was like
funny.
you, I didn't want it to be spoiled. I wanted to watch it for myself, so I just binged the whole series.
Yeah. And I'm really impressed that you were able to binge it without taking an extreme break like what I did.
To be fair, this is back when I lost my job. So to kill time, I kind of just watched TV shows. So that's how I got into Game of Thrones, Lost. I watched everything. Dexter.
Yeah. Lost isn't one of those shows that you can watch while you're doing something else because you look away for like 10 minutes and you look back and you're like, wait, who just died?
Yeah, exactly.
What happened?
It's so dense, but at the same time, it doesn't say anything.
Exactly. And I, because, I play a lot of Sims on my laptop. And whenever we're watching a TV show, that's kind of one of those things that is not something you really need to pay attention to. Like, I started watching Frasier again because I really enjoyed it when I was growing up. And it's just one of those things that you kind of put on in the background and you watch and you giggle at the jokes, but you don't have to like pay attention to it. It's just like a sitcom.
Yeah.
You can't do that with Lost, like at all. If you try and do that, like again, you're going to look away and look back and then, 4 people have died and the black smoke monster is on the screen and everyone's like at a temple and you're like, what in the world is happening?
You can't follow it anymore. You have to like rewind it and go back.
Exactly. Or watch a recap
Yeah.
and see what happened. So all in all, I don't think I hated it. I don't think it was worth the time I put into it. But I feel like kind of that like I have something lifted off my shoulders, like we can watch This Is 40 again, which for those of you that don't know, in the movie This Is 40, which is a Judd Apatow movie, they put something in about one of the daughters who coincidentally is his daughter finishing Lost, and she like freaks out when she sees the last episode.
Yeah, she's like, they're all dead.
Yeah.
They were dead the whole time.
See, and I've watched that movie a million times, but I never like really paid attention because Lost wasn't like on my radar whenever I had watched it. And then I remember that happening. Like I remember that specific moment where she was like,
she said something about the ending. You just didn't remember what it was.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I haven't watched that movie since I started watching Lost. And so now I'm kind of excited to go back to watching that movie.
Yeah,
and
I've
also,
missed it.
There are sometimes, because I watch like a lot of like top 10 videos on YouTube and stuff. I think that they're fun, like the Mojo videos.
Time killers.
Yeah, exactly. Things that you can put on in the background and not really pay attention to. And a lot of them involve Lost, and I have to skip over them because I was like dead set on not knowing what happened.
I know, which is really funny because some like Nick and I give each other's movies, and in the middle of some of these movies, you will take out your phone and read the end of the movie just so you know, so you're not anxious anymore, which is funny that you didn't do that with this.
Yeah, and I do that with books too because I'm an avid reader, and sometimes if I get like too anxious about something, then I'll flip to like the last page and see, like I remember and this is like super sacrilegious, so like I remember when I was reading the 6th Harry Potter book, and it was one of those books that I had gone to like the midnight release. I think Pat and I went, and I got the 6th Harry Potter book, and I'm like flipping through the book because I'm like so anxious. I'm like, oh my God, I have to know what happens. And I came across the page and it just says like in big letters, like Snape kills Dumbledore. And I cried for like probably a half hour straight before I like went back to the book. And I'm like, Kendra, that's what you get. Yeah. You shouldn't have been looking for answers because you got something that you didn't like.
I'm in the type, I like the anxious. Like I made you watch The Game not too long ago.
Oh my God. I hate that movie.
I watched it when I was a kid, and I loved that feeling. Like, oh my God, this is so like exhilarating. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't want to know until everything's unraveled. I want it to slowly chip away at the story and then finally tell me at the end. I love that feeling.
I think there are some people that like being uncomfortable, and I'm
Hmm.
just not one of those people.
Yeah.
There is no part of me that wants to be uncomfortable at any moment of my life. Like, I don't like sweating. I don't like being hungry. I don't like being
First world
thirsty. I
problems.
know. Like, in all honesty, and that's probably from growing up so privileged and with, a relatively lush childhood, but like, so I think a lot of my anxiety stems from that, and like I don't like that. I don't like being uncomfortable and not knowing what's going to happen, or like the game. It's That movie made me super uncomfortable, but Lost didn't, because
Yeah.
I was like, this is so dumb. Like,
It's
whatever they do is going to be dumb anyway, so
well,
kill
that's
them all.
that's the problem I have with the show is it's really good at setups. It's really good at getting you interested. Like the one setup that I was really, really looking forward to was Desmond's setup. Oh my god, I was like on the edge of my seat, excited for this, and then it was nothing. It was a guy pressing a button for no reason.
I am so glad that you brought up Desmond, because he is my sweet babe, and I feel like he did not get the justice that he deserved.
No, he didn't. He was a super interesting character and then got swept under the rug.
He was, and I really adore his character. I think that Henry Ian Cusack did a really great job at playing that character. And I agree. I feel like they had this great build up and they had this cool storyline that they could have done something with, but then they were like, Black Smoke Monster.
Yeah, and that's the problem I have with the show because they do it constantly. Like the black smoke monster, I told this, you think I'm ridiculous, but in the beginning, when they were scared of it, they didn't know what it was. In my mind, I was thinking like a T-Rex with lasers on it or something ridiculous, and it just was a black smoke monster. And I'm like, that's the most disappointing thing I think I've ever seen.
And for those of you that haven't watched it, we've already kind of spoiled the majority of it. But Black Smoke Monster turns out to be Jacob's brother. They were twins, right? Because he was the man in black. He never actually had a name throughout the end, because they explain all this.
Jacob's?
Huh?
Well, who's Jacob?
Jacob is the guy that's like protecting the island and has been for like ever. Pretty much. And then his crazy mother, who's played by Allison Janney for one episode, was protecting it, I guess, prior to that. Another thing that I really don't like about it is like everyone that's not the plane crash people that you know immediately is considered the others.
Yeah.
Like even the people that came from the tail end of the plane that, landed on a different part of the island, or the people that were already on the island, they're all considered the others.
And that's another storyline that I thought was really cool too, is what is it called? Where they had the little village of people. It was called a project something.
The Dharma Initiative.
The Dharma Initiative. Whenever they were talking about the others and they came across the Dharma Initiative and there's a whole little colony, like I thought that was super interesting. Like this colony surviving outside of modern technology, away from the rest of the world. I thought that was a little cool subplot, but again, they didn't really do anything with it.
To be fair, they did have modern technology. I mean, it's not like they had, phone towers or anything.
They're like disconnected from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
It's just like you said, like a whole bunch of buildup and a lot of trash and no payoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was pretty much the entire show. Like, there were some parts of it where you felt very connected to some of the characters, and I really liked Sawyer. I thought that he was a fun, and he was a very
he was a good character.
Exactly. He wasn't necessarily likable at all times, but that's what makes them them. But
Exactly.
You and I were talking too about how much we hate Kate, like the entire time. She is just like
hate
the
her as
bane.
a person.
Yeah,
because we all know people like her that are just out for themselves, kind of thing,
Yep.
and we just despise them.
Yep.
So
that, and like Jack and his thing. And you know what's funny? You had said it too at the very beginning that they all had to learn their own like shortcomings and deal with them.
yeah.
They didn't though. Like none of them really. I mean, besides, I feel like Sawyer initially had like commitment issues and like daddy issues because of his dad, killing his mom and stuff. And I feel like maybe he overcame his shortcomings, but like Jack was still a jerk and possessive. Kate was still selfish.
Kate took the baby and learned to take care of someone else besides herself.
But she took the baby for selfish reasons. Like, It wasn't out of the goodness of her heart. She took it because she didn't want to be alone.
Yeah, but I think it was like I said, she learned to take care of something else. Yeah, she took it for selfish reasons, but you can't selfishly take care of a baby or it dies. So
I mean, can't you though?
I
Like,
guess have we what was that documentary that we just watched about the mother over taking care of her child
I don't know.
and the daughter killed the mother?
Oh, the act about Gypsy Rose,
Yeah.
and
I guess
the Blanchards.
I guess
Yeah,
that's raising a kid with selfishness, but
I mean that's indifferent. Let's not get into the crazy, but I feel like there was no satisfying ending from this. The whole like, hey, you're all dead. And everyone's waiting for you, and the end is just like a flash of bright light. Like, it was like really like
that's what I'm saying. I know what they were going for. They just didn't stick the landing. Like they wanted them to
you could
deal with
say
their
they
problem.
crashed on an island and were never found again.
Yeah.
That's what it certainly felt like.
Yeah.
It was just a very odd show, and I feel like they had an idea whenever they first started it, and then it went into something
This
else.
is one of those things that it's like, I have an idea. People crash on the island, they die, and they're stuck in purgatory, and they have to learn to overcome the issues that they're dealing in life in order to get to the other side. Like, I feel like you can wrap this whole show up into that, like, one sentence.
See, I feel like they threw the purgatory in much later.
I feel they had to have think of that at the beginning, or else the rest of it doesn't really make sense. Or yeah, I guess they could get halfway through the show and they're like, we don't know what to do with this, but oh, they're in purgatory.
You know how there are like two kinds of writers, right? There are people that freestyle where they're just like writing down exactly what they're thinking, and the story kind of like flows and it takes its own shape. And then there are people that plan everything out and they outline and they're like, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. I feel like this was a total like freestyle.
I could see that.
I don't see them mapping out
Oh no, like
these things.
Like I said, I can see them mapping out the beginning and end, but everything in the middle was just free writing. Like, oh, wouldn't this be cool if we stuck that in there?
And it's amazing it lasted for 6 seasons.
That's the thing, is he's really good at keeping you interested. Like, the problem, well, he makes you care about these characters initially. Like, it draws you in.
Yeah.
And you really, really like the characters right off the bat. And you're like, man, I really want to see what happens to these people. Everyone has a character they latch onto in this one. Like, mine was Hurley. I just loved Hurley.
Yeah.
And you get attached to these characters. And he's really good at writing those. But the rest of the subplots are just whatevers.
Yeah, and I feel like it just didn't do it for me. Like, I wish I would have spent that time watching something that I would have felt more satisfied by.
But now you don't have to worry about spoilers, and you actually know what people are talking about when they reference Lost.
And we can watch This Is 40 again.
And this makes me think of like so many shows that I've seen. I Love You, Man. Whenever they're mad at each other, he's like, hey, can I get the my seasons of Lost back? It's such a cultural phenomenon.
It really is. And it's kind of like listening to an album for the first time that your friends have been referencing for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And I think it was like a part of growing up for me was finishing this blasted series, but I don't feel better for it. Yeah. Like you honestly, if you haven't watched Lost, you haven't started watching Lost, even if you have started watching Lost and you're only like 3 seasons in and you're like, I don't know if I should finish it, don't finish it. It's not worth it. They're in purgatory. They're all dead.
So your suggestion is go on Netflix, look at all the recaps, and there you go.
They're not on Netflix. They're on Hulu or YouTube. Yes, and Lost isn't on Netflix anymore. Right now it's on Hulu. Thankfully, we have the commercial-free subscription, so not only did I have to sit through 45 minutes of hell, I was able to sit through only 45 minutes and not 40 or like 15 minutes with a 3-minute commercial. So
I know. Bless the time we live in.
I know,
no
commercial-free. I know. Could you imagine, like, back in the day, having to sit through these episodes and, like, wait until the next week? Because J.J. Abrams loves his cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's all this show is cliffhangers.
It is. and they're not even good cliffhangers.
Well, they were good enough to keep me interested, but I got tricked so many times I stopped caring, but I wanted to finish.
And I think that's how I felt too. It was kind of like the first few seasons, you're like really rooting for them to get off this island,
Yeah.
and they kept like putting their foot in their mouth, and I'm like, you all need to die. I'm done with this. You don't deserve to live
I hope you run out
anymore.
of food and water and fucking perish.
Yes, it's just like you don't deserve to be among us anymore. So you can't. You just need to stay on your little island with the others, whatever that
Yeah.
means.
Or
And
just be the others. Just
Exactly.
join them and live there forever. Stay away from us.
it just, it was. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I would recommend looking up a giant recap. There's a couple videos on YouTube that are kind of funny. This guy is like lost in 5 minutes or less, and he was talking about how you could like literally take any noun and any adjective, put it together, and that's probably a lost storyline. Like purple alien was probably a lost storyline kind of thing.
I see that. Like, that's what I was saying earlier is like he just comes up with these silly subplots. They sound cool at first, but essentially he doesn't do anything with them.
No, it goes nowhere the entire time. And like I said, I don't feel better for it. I don't feel more knowledgeable. I don't feel...
when you watch Breaking Bad all the way through, you just feel like a sense of accomplishment, and you're like, man, I'm glad I watched that.
Yeah.
It's the opposite feeling with Lost.
It really is. It's like, wow, I wasted 120 hours of my life on this show.
Yeah.
Like, I could have been watching more anime or a TV show that I actually enjoyed instead of this dumpster fire.
Yep.
But like, it's one of those cultural things, like you said. Then now I'll understand the pop culture references, and now I don't ever have to watch it again.
Yep.
And just live the rest of my life without seeing Lost.
I like that rating, that thing. Just go online and watch the 5-minute recaps. That's all you need.
It is. I mean, in all honesty. And you get around like all the trash that they had, like, especially like in the beginning, they would always have these like people pop up, and they're like, oh, like Ethan, he was a doctor in the beginning, and he like infiltrated their camp. And I think he made them like believe that he was on the plane and stuff. And he wasn't. He was like one of the others, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And it's like you skip all that in the recap, because in the end that really doesn't matter.
Exactly. And he spends like whole episodes talking about things that's like, you could have done that in like a 5-minute flashback.
Yep. Honestly, it was like a 6-season show that probably should have been 3 and would have been sufficient.
Yep.
And while now we have 3-season shows that could have been stretched to 6, and it would have been even better.
Yeah, we don't talk about Game of Thrones.
Or Santa Clarita Diet, which Netflix canceled because they hate me. Anyway, but it was okay. I'm never going to watch it again.
Well, hopefully the next show we watch will be better and more uplifting. This is kind of a downer to start with, but you wanted to talk about it, so.
Well, we're watching Hannibal right now, which is not very uplifting at all.
No, not at all.
It's pretty depressing, actually.
I mean uplifting as in we enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because he like literally kills and eats people, so
yeah,
it's not exactly,
yeah.
happiness.
So I guess that's what we'll talk about next is Hannibal.
Sounds good.
All right, see you then.
Bye.